Every logical argument has a basic architecture, a core claim held up by supporting premises. But structural soundness is insufficient. We must apply a stress test. This fifth pillar, the rebuttal criterion, must anticipate counter-criticisms and actively neutralize them. The objective strength of an argument is inversely proportional to how heavily it relies on shielding its premises from external falsification. This brings us to a specific structural failure, a flaw formally classified as the fallacy of denying the counter-evidence. This occurs when an arguer structurally refuses to seriously consider or unfairly minimizes data brought against their claim. At its radical extreme, the arguer exhibits an absolute unwillingness to acknowledge that any conceivable evidence could challenge their position. We classify this behavior as an epistemic blockade. The arguer preemptively explains away external data before actual evaluation takes place. This structural refusal to allow contrary facts into the evaluative system acts as a deliberate obstruction to the discovery of truth. Look at this split-screen layout. We can use it to map the mechanics of a common debate, human evolution versus creation. On the left, we place the arguer's core claim. Humans did not evolve, but were created. The source material here is the Bible. On the right, we introduce empirical counter-evidence, evolutionary data drawn from a standard biology textbook. Faced with this data, the arguer deploys a specific evasion tactic. They downgrade the scientific text by labeling it just some person's opinion. By tagging the data as mere opinion, the arguer creates a rejection mechanism that bypasses actual evaluation. Deliberately miscategorizing empirical data as subjective opinion creates a logical shield. It preemptively prevents the worldview from facing factual scrutiny. Let's apply this to a debate regarding the health impacts of moderate marijuana use and its potential legalization. The arguer isolates a declarative claim. Marijuana is obviously harmful and should not be legalized under any circumstances. Then, counter-evidence is injected into the discussion. Extensive government studies demonstrating no strong evidence of harm from moderate use. The arguer's response to this data is blunt. I don't care what the studies say. This tactic creates a total blockade, preventing the studies from even entering the discussion. Relying on an outright blockade serves as a structural admission. The arguer is conceding that their conclusion operates entirely independent of objective reality or empirical testing. A final case study involves a politician, Senator Winger, debating the origins of homosexuality. The senator stakes out a specific claim. Homosexuality is strictly a learned trait. He is then presented with a structural threat to his position, scientific studies suggesting it is an innate biological trait. The senator evades the data by claiming the studies were fabricated by the radical left. The arguer uses a baseless partisan accusation to sidestep the intellectual labor of assessing the counter-evidence. Source contamination is a uniquely destructive form of the fallacy because it poisons the well of evidence itself. Delegitimizing the objective process that produced the research ensures no future evidence can ever breach the blockade. So how does a logical thinker attack an epistemic blockade in real time? The answer relies on the diagnostic concept shown here, which powers all rational debate, the principle of fallibility. To engage in genuine rational discourse, an individual must structurally allow for the possibility that they are wrong. You can deploy an exact diagnostic question to test this. Ask the arguer what specific kind of evidence, if produced, would seriously weaken their claim. This prompt strips away the rhetoric and forces the opponent to formally define their falsification conditions. A legitimate debater can clearly outline the evidence required to change their mind. A dogmatist inherently cannot. Often you will hit a failure state. The arguer cannot or will not specify any acceptable counter-evidence. If this test fails, your procedural recommendation is simple. Terminate the discussion immediately. Carrying on a logical discussion with such an opponent yields no results. They refuse to adhere to the principle of fallibility. You cannot logically debate a brick wall. Preserving intellectual rigor means recognizing when a conversation has devolved into unfalsifiable dogma and having the discipline to walk away.